yogam imam vishvate yogam proktavan aham avyayam proktavan aham avyayam Vivasvān manave praha Vivasvān manave praha Manur Iksvāku abravit Manur Iksvāku abravit. The blessed Lord said, I proclaimed this imperishable yoga to Vivasvān. Vivasvān told it to Manu, and Manu spoke it to Iksvāku. The fourth chapter of the Gita begins with Shri Krishna speaking. No question was asked, like in the third chapter, yet Shri Krishna is giving an answer. Therefore, this is such an answer to which there is no question. Therefore, it's really unusual. Vivasvān, mentioned here, is a sun god, and Shri Krishna first proclaimed this imperishable yoga to him. Manu was a king, and he was a son of the sun god. Manu then spoke it to his son Iksvāku. Why is Shri Krishna saying all of this? The reason why Shri Krishna said the second and the third chapters of the Bhagavad Gita was to get Arjuna ready for war. He had a purpose. If someone has said something for a purpose, then how authentic does that knowledge feel? It was said so Arjuna would do work. If a mother wants to send her son to get lemons from the market and the son says he won't go, then the mother will tell the child that if he gets the lemons, there'll be fairies with nice flowers in their hands and they'll give flowers if he comes back with the lemons. The fairy is not really standing there, but the mother is saying it. Why? So she can get the son to bring the lemons. It was therefore to get Arjuna to go to war that Shri Krishna said what he did in the second and third chapters of the Gita. What he said was very nice. If he had said this all for a purpose, then Arjuna is ready for war and there's no need to say anything further. Why then do you and I study the scripture 5,000 years later? How is it then applicable today? If the purpose, what Shri Krishna said thus far, was to get Arjuna ready for war, then he's ready for war. We can then just close the book of the Gita and leave it there. Shri Krishna has said what he needs to make Arjuna ready for war. Now what does he need to say? Shri Krishna said said what he's saying now because a question arises in the person's mind. The spiritual knowledge that Shri Krishna said thus far is not occasional knowledge to get Arjuna to the battlefield, it's universal knowledge. Shri Krishna has therefore said the second and third chapter of the Gita to show the universality of this knowledge. It's not something new, it's imperishable and eternal knowledge. Shri Krishna says that he has explained what he already told Arjuna first to the sun god. The sun god told it to Manu, and Manu spoke it to Iksvāku. All three of these are warrior kings from the sun's lineage. Shri Krishna is trying to say that these three warrior kings became famous and successful because they followed this imperishable yoga. Arjuna is also a warrior king, and therefore he should also follow this knowledge. Shri Krishna therefore gives examples of people that were in a similar position to Arjuna. Notice another thing here. All the kings mentioned in this verse, so you've got the sun god, Vivasvān, Manu, Iksvāku, are from the sun's lineage. If we look at history, then we see that there's two major lineages in history, the sun's lineage and the moon's lineage. Shri Krishna, Arjuna, the Yadavs, you see in Dwarikadesh, the Pandavas and the Kauravas are in the moon's lineage. Kings of the sun's lineage included Prithu, Mandata, Harishchandra, Dilip, Bhagirath, Nabag, Ambarish, Raghu, Dashrath, Sri Ram, Nala, Janak. Janak was mentioned in the second chapter of the Gita. It's very interesting that whenever Shri Krishna gives Arjuna inspirational examples of king in the Bhagavad Gita, then these kings are always shown from the sun's lineage. Shri Krishna is showing Arjuna how much more the kings from the sun's lineage must be greater than the kings from the moon's lineage. In order to encourage a king from the moon's lineage, inspirational examples of kings from the sun's lineage have been given. Guruji is very vague when he gives stories of these relationships because he doesn't remember all of them. He doesn't even remember relationships in real life. Many people have lots of interests in relationships, for example, cousins and aunts of cousins and things like that. On the other hand, Guruji never remembers anyone outside his close family. He never has done, and he never will do so. And that's why he gets stuck whenever people ask questions about these relationships. And whenever they ask me, he just holds his ears and folds his hands. Nevertheless, we'll look at how Shri Krishna and Arjun are part of the moon's lineage. We all know, most of us know Yayati. He's a son of the king Nahush in the moon's lineage. I'm not going to go too much in the story of Yayati because it's mentioned in this blue book here in the Srimad Bhagavad. Yayati got married to Shukracharya's daughter Devyani. The king Rishabha's daughter Shamista went with Devyani as her servant. Shukracharya made Yayati promise him during the wedding that he would never have any relations with this maidservant, Saumishtra. Yayati and Devyani's married life began, and they had 2 children, Yadu and Turvasa. After seeing these 2 sons, Shamista also desired to have children as well. She made this proposal to Yayati. In the blindness of youth, Yayati lost his senses and had this illegitimate relationship with Samishra. This relationship went on for a long time, and they had 3 sons, Puru, Anu and Dayu. Devyani found out about this and told her father Shukracharya. Shukracharya cursed Yayati that he will become old and lose the youth in the blindness of which he committed these acts. Yayati became old and he started apologizing. He asked Shukracharya to forgive him and told him that he still has many material enjoyments yet to fulfill and he's not finished with samsara, material life. He wanted his youth back and constantly asked Shukracharya for it. Shukracharya said that once a curse is given, it can't be reversed. He told him that there's only one way now. He told him he can only have his youth back if he asks one of his 5 sons for it, so that the son can get the old age and he will get the son's youth. The father that wanted material enjoyments went to beg the sons for this youth. First of all, he went to Yadu. Yadu said no, and Yayati told him there will be no kings in Yadu's lineage. Now we see that there was never a king in Yadu's lineage. Sri Ram is called a king, Sri Krishna is never called a king. There was no kings in Yadu's lineage. Scholars say that there's always been a presidential government and a democracy in Yadu's land, at the moment in India as well. With kings, the throne always goes to the next in line. In presidential government, the son doesn't take over, but the right person, according to the electorate, takes over as president. There's never been a king in that land of Yadu. So Puru, his other son, gave his youth to Yayati. The people in the lineage of Yadu are called Yaduvansh. Shri Krishna is a Yaduvansh because he was born in the lineage of Yadu. They're called Yadavs. In Puru's lineage, the Pandavas and the Kauravas came. These are all the descendants of Yayati, and Yayati was a king in the moon's lineage. Here, Shri Krishna talked about the kings in the sun's lineage. Shri Krishna told this knowledge first to the sun god. The sun god told it to Manu, and Manu spoke it to Iksvāku. Manu gave the very first religious scripture. Therefore, Manu is called the very first writer of the religious scriptures. Iksvāku was also a great king, and the Iksvāku clan started with him. The lineage started with him. You must understand something else from this verse. The sun god is regarded symbolically. Whenever someone's gained the right spiritual knowledge and has reached the highest level, then they've always envisioned light. Knowledge is light, wisdom is light. And that's why Shri Krishna says here, spiritually, that the sun is a source of all light. Any light in this world, even that from the moon, comes from the sun. In the scriptures, it's even said that the light in fire also comes from the sun. The sun symbolizes brightness and light. Because the sun is a source of light, then symbolically, Shri Krishna is trying to say here, I've got a hand actually, Shri Krishna is going to show here that the original knowledge came from him as well. When he uses the word aham, I, it looks like means the ego. I'm saying this, but you must remember that when Shri Krishna says anything in the Gita, then it's always talking from 2 levels, 2 handouts, yeah? Okay, 2 levels. The first is taking into account time limits and within the circumference of time. Secondly, Shri Krishna normally talks to Arjun like a friend. of some of the things that Shri Krishna is saying here are beyond time. During those times, Shri Krishna is not talking to him as his friend or even as a son of Vasudeva and Devaki or as a darling of Nanda and Yashoda, but as a supreme being and God. That's why throughout the whole Mahabharata, whenever Shri Krishna says something, it says Krishna Uvacha, but whenever Krishna says something in the Gita, look at it, what does it say? Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. It's not the son of Nanda and Yashoda, Vasudeva and Devaki, but the supreme being himself. In this verse, Shri Krishna is saying that he is there as God. He is talking from that angle. And if you want to understand the Gita in its correct meaning, you must clearly understand these two levels at which Shri Krishna is saying it. Only then can you understand the Gita properly. When we call ourselves Manav or Manushya, meaning humans, the meaning of the word Manushya is Manunare Padya, meaning the descendants of Manu. Therefore, all humans are the descendants of Manu. Manu is the first father of humanity. In Christianity, there's the concept of Adam and Eve. In Indian history, Manu and his wife Shatrupa were the first humans. This lineage came from them. The sun is the source of all light. Manu is the source of all humanity. And Manu gave this knowledge of yoga to his son Iksvāku.